You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yes, that's right. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 21st. It's National IT Professionals Day, National Chai Day, National Pecan Cookie Day, and that's right, National New York Day. Thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like and share and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you join us by Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story most recently presented. But without further ado, let's pay a quick bill so we can get right back to the news.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of Angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, that's right, everybody. Hope everyone's having an amazing hump day today. But coming up first, that's right, it's the humper of humpers. That's right, the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte. When he is not making babies, he's taking care of their diapers. That's right. You know, baby wipes and all. That's right. Back and forth and swaddling and swaddling. But when he's not doing any of that, you can also catch him babysitting grown-ass adults at TEDx conventions. And when he's not doing that, that's right, he's constantly backpedaling on safe banking, amongst other things. But, you know, whatever. He played collegiate football, so of course he's a backpedaler. But nonetheless, it is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Thank you for that amazing intro, Jason, and welcome back, everyone out there watching, listening, and getting high at 9 with us yet again. This beautiful, humpiest of hump days. It is Wednesday, everybody. My story today is coming out of Benzinga. Craft Cannabis Workers Unite. The U.S. National Craft Cannabis Coalition has announced its formation. Capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners of for-profit rather than by the state. Like it or not, it's a brutal system wrought with winners and losers in the path Americans overwhelmingly choose to embrace time and time again. As the race towards federal legalization intensified, the smaller legacy farmers who've built the game, now dominated by larger, more well-capitalized entities, more concerned with profit, efficiency, and geographic footprint than quality and communal benefit, have struggled to keep up. Some have chosen to continue operating as outlaws, ignoring the growing trends and inevitable corporate takeover altogether. Others have unsuccessfully tried to comply, just to end up tapping out due to diminished resources. But the ones who've continued to fight back, knowing it's a race they're unlikely to win in the long run, no longer have to do it alone. They can now look to an allied coalition of cultivators spanning 6 legalized states with similar grievances, working towards the unified goal of preserving what they've begun. Yesterday, September 20th, 2022, marked the National Coalition of Craft Cannabis officially announcing its formation, aiming for a closer goal within capitalism in the United States, carving a space in regulations for small craft cannabis workers in one of the most dynamic sectors of the world. Per the article, the NCCC consists of 6 state-level advocacy organizations representing over 1,000 small and independent commercial cannabis producers across the United States. In a press release pushed out yesterday by the org, it stated the NCCC was formed to advance state and federal policies that support small cannabis producers and the development of a differentiated market for regulated small batch craft cannabis products. The coalition groups cannabis trade associations, advocacy groups, and co-ops across the country, including Origins Council out of California, Farms Inc. out of Oregon, Washington Sun and Craft Growers Association out of Washington, Vermont Growers Association, obviously Vermont, and the Maine Craft Cannabis Association out of Maine, and the Farm Bug Co-op out of Massachusetts. Upon its formation, the NCCC announced its strong support for the SHIP Act, which we covered last week, introduced September 14th, 2022 by Representative Jared Huffman, Democrat out of California. The NCCC's official statement read, "The SHIP Act would ensure that small cannabis producers have the ability to ship their products directly to consumers across the United States, mirroring existing efforts in other craft agricultural industries, such as America's world-renowned artisanal wine industry, where the ability to ship products directly to consumers has been the cornerstone of ensuring market access for small producers." I think this is great news, and the NCC's formation is a holistic win for the industry, both preserving what was built and the backbone of the industry, but also for the big guys too. People are going to hover towards the big guys if they don't know much about the industry, if they don't know much about craft products, if they don't know much about, the intricacies that we all have learned being in the industry over the last however many years. And call this the high school, and you call everything elementary, I guess. But I'm interested in hearing what everybody else has to say about the NCCC. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. Thank you again for getting high at 9 with us this morning.
I mean, Rico, go ahead.
I just wanted to quickly add, they have said that they are actually, Rico, and I apologize if I missed it, but they're representing over 1,000 small and independent commercial cannabis producers already. So this is huge for them to have been working on this, and there's already 1,000 being supported. That's huge.
Did they list who it was? Because I've definitely heard a few of these organizations starting. It started in Maine. What was the?
No, I mean it's decentralized. It is Origins. Let me go over here. Origins Council out of California, Farms Inc. out of Oregon, Washington Sun and Craft Growers out of Washington, Vermont Growers Association, Vermont, Maine Craft Cannabis Association, and the Farm Bug Co-op out of Massachusetts.
So it's a bunch of states.
It's all outdoor growers. It's all outdoor growers.
Yes, it is. Jason, how do you feel about that?
Would they're considering themselves
craft?
Craft?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Craft growers across the nation are uniting, and they're looking to bring more and more people on as more states legalize too.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm
I'm with you, Nicole. I'm with you on this one, Nicole. Yeah.
It is Tuesday. It is Wednesday, but let's talk about it. Let's go. What you got to say about that, Nicole?
Yeah.
I'm about to piss some people off. Got to pop the nails off real quick.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So first and foremost, the idea of craft would, in my mind, mean high end. And currently on the market, when we're talking about outdoor cultivation, when we're not dealing with a mixed light, and a mixed light, yes, we can find our way to high end when we're controlling some environmental issues. But when we put those motherfucking plants out in the world and Mother Nature is just beating them down, the idea of them being high end to me is almost not possible. Now, there is a fraction of a percent of those growers that have that spot that's in the weird fucking place that for whatever reason, when the hurricane comes, their house doesn't get fucking taken down. Those people might have
it's like the pyramids, situation. Right, Nicole?
Sure, exactly. They might have a special, and there's a fraction of people that are growing outdoor that are growing what they could consider high end. And I fucking commend you. You guys are fucking hitters, killers. Keep doing what you're doing. But the other 99.99999999999% of people growing weed outdoors are growing weed, in my opinion, and cannabis, in my opinion, for the idea of commercialization and the ability to grow volume, right? The idea to go outside makes sense to get volumetric numbers so that you can use the fucking sun and Mother Nature to get quantities of weed. And when we talk about quantities, we are no longer talking about craft. And the idea of turning your outdoor farm into something that's going to make you money, grow some motherfucking tomatoes. You'll have a better chance.
That's right. And you're not subject to 280E if you grow tomatoes.
So are you saying that you are against the NCCC?
No, I'm not against them. I just say that's cute.
Yeah, I think I'm with Nicole. I think this is cute too. I think it's great that they're going to have their voice and whatnot. Yeah, I'm all
and they
for
should have
it.
a coalition.
But
They should call it like the Outdoor Farmer Coalition, so that we could be very real with what we're talking about.
I think they should spell their craft with a K instead of a C though.
No, because doesn't Kraft Cheese own that?
I think they should call it Craft Cannabis. KRAFT.
There's nowhere in their statement that they're saying that they're outdoor only.
I mean, it says right there in the beginning, the Origins Council, which is all outdoor farmers up in Mendocino, okay, and everyone else that you mentioned is all outdoor farmers too. No one is from indoor traditional indoor. Maine's outdoor. That's all booth outdoor.
Maine grows some decent weed when they do grow indoor weed. I've seen some of it. I've seen some pretty fucking fire ass weed. As far as like any of the East Coast states, Maine has provided me with the most impressive flower that I've seen. I've got a couple friends up there. They're just fucking killing.
Even over Michigan, really?
Over Michigan, yeah.
Wow.
Hands down over Michigan.
I think it's a positive that they're coming together. They're coming together and fighting back against the machine.
I think a coalition in general is a good idea.
Period.
I think a coalition in general is a good idea. And like, I think that there's a conversation to be had about it being, small business, right? Mm-hmm. Small business coalition. I think we might want to have that as our conversation, because a lot of people would like to be craft, but they're just not there yet. And like, that doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be in a fucking coalition of good people trying to do right things. Because just because you don't produce the best weed doesn't mean you don't deserve to be in the crew.
We can work our way up.
People need inexpensive weed. People need, all the different realms of it have to exist.
That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said.
But I don't consider that craft. I don't consider that craft.
Yeah, let me tell you something, bro. If it's not fucking fire ass weed, that's something that I would smoke. You can't call yourself craft. It's
I'm hoping that this coalition leads to more lobbying efforts that encourage like farmers markets for these craft growers, because that's what I hope the future of cannabis is where I can go directly to the grower, to these small craft growers, and purchase my weed, not at a dispensary. So
you smoke outdoor weed, huh, Nicole?
Oh, I love outdoor. Actually, it's my favorite. I prefer it over indoor. I'm a sun baby, so I like stuff that grows outside in the sun.
Next time you're in LA, we need to recalibrate your palate.
So the idea
some of the best weed with Jason Beck though.
I just Googled craft beer so that I could better understand. I think our definition in our heads might be wrong. The idea of craft beer just means that you're not basically like a corporation beer. So craft doesn't mean good.
Right.
Craft does not mean
that's what I'm saying. I used to work at Goose Island in Wrigleyville, and it was crazy once InBev came and bought us out. It was like overnight, like changed into it was like, I don't know. It's like TLC getting bought out by Curaleaf, right?
But I will say,
Jungle Boy's getting bought out by Curaleaf. That's exactly what happened.
The idea of being a craft outdoor grow long term doesn't make sense. Like there's not enough money in outdoor weed for unless you're farming a bunch of other shit and you're just a farmer.
But there's always going to be that 10%. There's always going to be that 10% of the market.
That 10% is a tenth of 1%.
No, the idea of being able, unless you're growing really fucking fire though. Like but my point is the volume of what's going to be there, Rico. The volume, the metric tons of fucking outdoor that's going to be available on the market is going to be so cheap that the idea of that outdoor craft farmer with their 1 acre being able to even pay their fucking bills with how cheap weed is going to be, unless they're growing.
People still pay $1,000 for a bottle of wine.
No, yeah,
unless it's good. If it's fucking really
if it's
good,
a vintage, if it's a vintage year, but weed is not like that. Weed is constantly decomposing. It's not like wine at all.
Say that you can say that because you live in California. Like me,
weed is always constantly decomposing. That's just a fact.
Me actually selling bullshit weed in Chicago, then coming out here, it's a fucking whole new world. And to have people that can go to different states and be like, yo, I want the best of the best, and these are the people that are saying that they have the best of the outdoor or the indoor or whatever.
See, that's the problem. They're just saying that. They're just saying that that's just a marketing gimmick ploy for boof weed, Rico.
I disagree. I think it's a great idea for them to come together. I applaud their efforts, and I think it's awesome that they are trying to preserve their legacy. And this is how you do it: you come together with others, and you amplify your voice.
Oh, and I Rico, no one's disagreeing with that. My main point is the idea of being craft as an outdoor long term mathematically doesn't make sense.
I think
for most of them.
For most of them, yes.
99.999% of the people that are growing outdoor need to hit volume.
Yes.
If you're putting your plants outside, you need to get lots of them.
Yeah, and
that other 0.0001
through shit like this,
growing that high end.
Through shit like this, they can get money. Like 99.9% of the craft beer that you buy at your corner store is owned by large corporations, right? Yes, it is.
99.9% of your craft beer. It's not
if you get craft
anymore.
beer,
it's not considered craft beer anymore.
Blue Moon, Fat Tire,
it's not craft beer anymore.
Exactly.
It's not craft beer.
Exactly. But a lot of those large corporations, they're like, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna let you guys do what you do. We're gonna take a cut of what you're doing. This is what I was saying about me at Goose Island. We were like scared that the operations
they're no longer
and everything.
Craft. But then they're no longer craft, and you're not a part of the coalition.
Yes,
and then
no,
you're not. They're not. They're actually not. Blue Moon is no longer craft beer. Blue Moon is no longer craft beer. It's owned by Coors.
They're all owned by large people that can inject them with fucking cash.
Once they sell out, Rico, they're no longer craft.
And so
everybody has to sell out. You just said that because of capitalism.
And that's fine.
Everybody has to make money
anymore. But then you're not craft.
What they're doing, like with fucking money, you need money to fucking survive. And what they're doing is they're coming to fucking gather to amplify their voice. And you know what? At the end of the day, big bank eat little bank. This is what capitalism is. Period. Yeah. Everybody is going to have to fucking bow down to the almighty dollar at some point.
Well, what a great way to segue into Jason Beck. Bow down to the almighty dollar.
Yeah.
Mr. Jason Beck, the longest running retailer in the history of regulated cannabis, and the gentleman who believes he who has the gold makes the rules. Jason, what's your golden rule for today?
That is the golden rule. That is so right, Nicole. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm here to let some people know that they thought they were going to have the golden rule, but instead they just got played by their government. That's right, because New York finally approves medical-only home grow. It only took 9 months, but medical cannabis patients in New York State can soon grow their own weed. The New York Office of Cannabis Management announced on Tuesday, September 20th. The state's Cannabis Control Board, the CCB, has approved regulations for personal home cultivation of medical cannabis for card-carrying patients and caregivers, which will need final approval from the New York Department of State before taking effect on October 5th. The new provisions allow patients and caregivers to grow up to 6 plants, which is fucking total bullshit, but no more than 3 mature plants at a time in their private residences. And I'd really love to see what they define as mature plants, because there's other definitions of mature plants that say a plant is not mature until it's ready to be harvested. But nonetheless, the OCM Executive Director, Chris Alexander, addressed the new rules in a press release, writing, in a quote, "Since our launch, we have been laser focused on improving cannabis access for patients in our state's medical program. Allowing patients on their designated caregivers to grow their own cannabis plants will eliminate many barriers to access. And I'm excited that the Office of Cannabis Management is providing the information and education to help medical patients succeed at home cultivation." The CCB proposed these regulations in 2021 and revised them in April of this year. After a public comment period. The board approved decisions during today's CCB meeting, during which the board members also approved an additional 261 conditional cultivation licenses and 25 processing licenses. The state's cannabinoid hemp program will also expand to improve labeling standards, product diversity, and dosage and licensing for hemp farmers. While this may seem like a big step, a few pitfalls remain. For example, adult use users who are not allowed to grow their own cannabis have no licensed dispensaries from which they can obtain it. Additionally, New York has one of the smallest medical marijuana programs related to its population, with just one 124,485 registered patients. And Oklahoma, a state with 1/5 of New York's population, has roughly 3 times as many registered patients. Launched in 2014, critics say the program is expensive and inaccessible, with just a couple dozen dispensaries for a state of nearly 20 million people. Mostly run by vertically integrated multi-state operators, annual renewal fees are high and product options remain slim. Flower wasn't even available for purchase until last year, and patients rejoice as the rest of us were still waiting. Well, I'll tell you what, New York, this is definitely not the way to go if you want to really allow home grow for patients, because 6 plants is definitely not enough. I mean, even California allows you to have 6 mature plants for anyone 21 and over per household. And so, but I also wonder too, if New York, if the reason that you had your plant count so low is because the reality of it is that New York, you can't allow for home grow because your power grid wouldn't be able to support the amount of lights that people would throw up in their closets throughout the state in their apartments. But nonetheless, this is Jason Beck reporting for High at 9 News.
So I was a little torn by this because that was my first thought, right? Where I'm like, okay, high rises, these fucking in Manhattan, like we can't have people trying to fucking grow a gang of weed in these goddamn little ass apartments that are fucking 100 years old.
I'm gonna rent a $10,000 studio apartment and grow weed in it.
That's like this much of all of New York. There's so much fucking open land in New York. It's insane. Like we all think of New York as the city, right? But like the rest of the state's huge. It's a big fucking state.
Yeah, lots of open land.
New York is like LA vertical.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's just like all condensed.
The idea that they would say that is like us building our whole California regulations off of LA. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people in LA can't be trusted to do shit without fucking being shady about it in a lot of situations, but you can do that in a lot of other places.
Just saying.
Don't get fooled by the palm trees and the
yeah, that's right. That's right.
But the rest of the state, you can grow 6 plants without having to fucking bypass your power. You know, you can put it in your backyard. You could not be a nuisance. There's a ton of ways. And so I didn't really understand the idea behind not allowing a little bit more for medical, but I'm kind of pissed about the no adult use. Like we always talk about, like nobody regulates your fucking tomato growth. Like nobody regulates how many oranges I can grow. Like, or tells me I can't grow oranges because orange juice is available at the store. Like
this is the simple mathematics of follow the money. Like obviously the MSOs are in the state lobbying against allowing people to have home grow, swearing that people's 4 plants are going to somehow affect their bottom line at their dispensary. So, you know, it always goes back to that. Every state where they try to outlaw or they try to prevent home grow, it always comes back to the MSOs.
And it's crazy that they're the ones fighting back against it, because this is like this is a non-issue to you. Like small growers, like the majority of people don't have time to tend to their fucking plants.
That part,
period.
Right. That's
like,
it.
I have a lot of land here. I got a decent amount of land here in South Central LA. I don't have time to fucking learn how to grow fucking outdoor and shit. Like if I do anything, it'll be in my fucking closet.
Not to mention, you're probably going to have a caterpillar that flies into your plants and just eats them all anyway, and then you'll just be pissed.
I was going to bitch about it a little bit more, but then I had to research a lot about New York that's going to reset my thinking. And I'm going to say, okay, New York, at least you're being fair. You're not allowed to brew your own beer at home in New York.
You're not?
Nope. And I just looked it up. I was like, can I brew my own beer? There's like facilities that you can rent. So you can as an individual go to a place and make your own beer.
The people always like joke and everything. We even had jokes yesterday about California and like how everything's like very, very oppressed here. Like New York is
Article
fucking
8-100 provides no person shall manufacture, sell or wholesale any alcoholic beverage within the state without obtaining the appropriate license. So you have to have a specific license to make beer, sell, do any of it. Like obviously selling it, but
do you know how many like craft brewers that we had like descend upon us at Goose Island in Wrigleyville, like from out of nowhere, these fucking backyard brews. Like every fucking other month we had this fucking consortium of motherfuckers, just a room full of farts. like all these old white dudes just coming down, pounding the fucking tables, drinking their fucking grog. Like,
Okay.
that's what America's all about.
Drinking their grog? Drinking their grog?
Hold on. I'm deeper into the law. You can make beer specifically. You can't make alcohol. Does the
You can make beer.
You can make non-alcoholic. You can make O'Doul's.
Beer, like spirits. You can't make spirits. Like you can't.
Does the
like
article say anything about co-ops or any type of co-op for medical patients? Is it allowed?
It allows for caregivers. It allows for caregivers. Yes, it allows for caregivers.
Still only have the 3 plants.
Still only 3 mature plants and 6 plants in total. Yeah. But remember,
caregivers a maximum of 4 patients up to 12 plants for caregivers.
But California defines a mature plant as being the point of when it's ready to be harvested. So I'm wondering if New York has a similar definition for crops as part as a definition for mature plants. Because if that's the case, then you can just grow 6 plants and fuck what they say and tell them it's a fucking not a mature plant until it's ready to be harvested and fuck off.
Man, I don't know if New York has the resources to send like the cannabis police around all these.
No, you know who they're going to send around? They're going to send around the housing authority. That's who they're going to send around.
Yeah, you're right.
They're going to send around the housing authority. That's who's going to enforce this.
They're already overworked and underpaid, and none of them are.
And now they're going to be confiscating weed, so they don't have to buy it anymore.
That's funny.
One of the things it did say, though, that the regulations also say I know this is not what you're talking about is not the landlords, but it does say the landlords may not refuse to lease to patients or penalize them for legally growing weed. So from that, no.
I mean, but Adelia, wouldn't you say that just means that as a tenant, you don't have to disclose to them if you intend on growing cannabis prior to renting a space?
That's true. Yeah.
I mean,
look at that. You don't have to stint yourself out to your landlord in New York to grow 6 plants.
And to Nicole Buffong, to your point, like, follow the money with this shit. This is a smoke screen deciding to get people all upset and get people polarized when you're taking your eyes off the prize, and the majors are taking over. Watch your pockets and grow your shit regardless of what they say.
Boom. What we got next?
It's on you, Rico.
This cannabis business consultant specializes in efficiency, agriculture, compliance, and draws upon wisdom gained from those 30 days in a cold, damp Colorado cell before she rose like the phoenix, becoming the woman that she is today. In her spare time, she enjoys busting bullshit and currently working on a doctorate in dirtbag psychology at Long Beach Community College. Come to the stage next is a self-described data bitch herself, Nichole West. It's hump day. What you got for us?
Dirtbags, scumbags, douchebags. I'm an expert in all of them. I've got this. All right. My headline today is coming out of Oklahoma. News 6. Oklahoma marijuana industry frustrated with metric licensing agreement. Now, for those of you who don't know, metric, not the measurement, is the seed-to-sale tracking software that's owned by a company called Franwell. And Franwell got their origination in this industry through their first contract that they had in Colorado for the seed-to-sale tracking of their original licensing process in Colorado. Their original purpose was a general agricultural software where they used their software to track acreage per yields so that farmers could better understand their financial turn on their property. So just understand what Franwell actually comes from, and then let's look at a bigger picture of what's happening right now. So in Oklahoma, we have a booming cannabis industry, and it's facing more growing pains. Currently, they're battling with Metric. Growers, processors, and dispensary owners say that they got an unexpected email from Metric, the company OMMA uses for their seed-to-sale program, saying that if they don't agree to their terms, they can't open up shop. And I just want to say, like, the fact that Oklahoma is making such a big deal out of this at this point, when we've watched all of the states around them do this exact same thing, is like mind-boggling to me. Because the reality is the state is not going to let you have cannabis in your state when it's federally illegal without some sort of oversight. Like, I'm sorry, Oklahoma, it's just not going to happen. So Mary Jane dispensary owner Daryl Carnes said that he feels like he's being held hostage. If he wants to keep his doors open, he has to accept these terms. You had the option to accept or decline, says Daryl. I had the client call me and say that this doesn't really feel like a choice when my choice is to comply or sign it or refuse to sign it and de facto be not compliant, explains the attorney and partner. You can't operate in Oklahoma today moving forward unless you agree to this right now. You have a fear of not accepting and it going completely out of business today, says Daryl. The ULA, for most part, is pretty standard, says Kimbry, but the two parts of that make her and those in the industry look twice. The first is Section 7, as it relieves Medtrick from any liability of if the software fails. Now, I just want to say every single software has that as a disclaimer. Like, read everything. Read your phone, read your Twitter, read your QuickBooks for that fucking matter. It's insane what they don't protect if the software goes down. You're waiving the right to sue them if that happens, including without limitation to damages for loss of goodwill, work stoppage, lost profits, loss of data, computer failure, or malfunction, Daryl says. Now, there's usually a certain requirement as far as how much uptime that they'll have. And that's something that I think is necessary in their contracts, and a percentage of downtime. Most tech contracts will say that. They'll say that they're allowing for X amount of hours as a potential, and anything over that would be insured. And honestly, Medtrick's insurance hopefully would cover that, but I'm not 100%. The issue is that those losses have continued to pop up since the seed to sell implementation. Now, I want to be really honest. I understand and use Medtrick in many states. Medtrick interacts where your software talks to Medtrick, okay? So as long as your software doesn't go down, operations can continue. You just have to be able to communicate to Medtrick. And Medtrick also states that if their software goes down, they give you a certain amount of time to get it fixed. And almost every law in every state has that in their regulations as well. So that part is a little confusing to me because nobody's actually going into Medtrick and making their sales in Medtrick, right? You make your sales in the POS system, and then that pushes to Medtrick. Now, when we're talking about cultivation movement, we're talking about transfers of products. So moving products can become a problem when we're talking about taking something from a farm to another facility. But as far as the downtime on Medtrick, I've definitely seen it. The most I've ever seen not being able to move a product was 3.5 hours. And now, while that's very inconvenient, it's not going to completely halt your business operations. What the laws apply in the ULA has also raised a red flag because it said that it'll be Florida, not Oklahoma laws that it'll hold up in court, which really doesn't make any sense. But I think one of the bigger confusing parts about Medtrick is how they've built their system and they just kind of jammed it into every other state. And so there's certain values and sections of Medtrick that aren't necessary. So when you look at the back end of the system, in some states, you'll see databases that'll have, if you pull an inventory for your plants, for instance, there'll be a column in your spreadsheet and it'll say patients. And people here are like, why the fuck do I have a column for patients that's just blank? Well, ladies and gentlemen, in Colorado, when the software first came out, your patient was assigned to your plant. So you were only allowed to have X plants per patient. And so unless you were operating in the original days of Colorado, you never actually saw the use of this column, but this column still exists. And so the Oklahoma operators are concerned about the way the data is going in, which I totally agree with them on. But the idea that not signing this contract is going to make or break their businesses, I do understand that being a bit much for it to be pressed on them at a short notice. I do think that there should be some time being given. So in response, Medtrick released the following statement. The ULAs, or the usual license agreements, are standard business practices and are governed by the laws of the state and the software company it resides in. They are commonly accepted when people download applications or use software on their phones, laptops, devices of any kind. Yep. Medtrick software licensing agreement, which all license agrees to prior to using the system, is an example of the standard ULA practice. Any user who logged into the Medtrick system in the past would have had to agree to the original ULA. Recently, Medtrick updated its ULA language, which is a regular practice for companies who provide these services, which happens on your iPhone and every software you've ever used in the history of ever. The newest version incorporates similar languages as previous agreements surrounding the laws and governing use of the software in the state. So I'm super curious what everyone has to say about this. Anybody who's operating with Medtrick, what do you think? Do you think this is something worth fighting as hard as Oklahoma has been fighting? I mean, I definitely understand how frustrating it is, but at the same time, like Oklahoma, you saw this happening in every other state. How did you not expect this? And I do want to say, as somebody who had all of my Medtrick records used against me in the court of law when I went to jail, that joke in the beginning on my introduction, I'm a white collar criminal. I went to jail for a company called Sweetleaf. I was the vice president of the corporation operation. And when we were in grand jury, one of the main records that was used to show what was going on was metric records. And my name was the API key on all of our sales. So 13 stores throughout the state and a little over 200,000 square foot of cultivation, and every transaction had my name stamped on it. So definitely worth understanding the software, definitely worth understanding how to use it, and definitely worth going through the process and reading the entire contract. And I'm Nichole West, getting high at 9 with y'all.
Real quick, I'd like to add to your story, Nichole. Thank you for sharing this, that Oklahoma has been in the market for the last 3 years, just put a cap on licenses last month, at the end of last month. And so the last 3 years, they've been giving away licenses like they've given away Skittles or mints or candy or something at $3,500 a pop. And so now you have an oversaturated market. And for the last 3 years, without metric in place, you had a lot of opportunities for legacy product to get into the legal marketplace. And so now that they've stopped to it, when I was in Oklahoma last week meeting with dispensary owners, a lot of them were just like, at this point, they've realized that it's only going to be the strongest that will survive the next 12 months. Yep. They're increasing licensing fees. They're increasing the amount of square. Like if you have, they're now basing your licensing fee on the amount of square footage that you're growing.
They had their chance to plant their fucking flag and make their money, and now it's just like, yo, it's big.
It's a shit show. It's a shit show. Everywhere. You have more dispensaries in a 3-mile radius in Oklahoma City than you have in the entire state of New York. Like it doesn't even.
This is going to be a real Darwin moment for the state of Oklahoma. Like legitimately, the strongest will survive. And those who learn how to operate within the fucking whatever the stupid coloring book that they gave you is, figure it out. It might be a dumbass picture, but if you want to stay in that state with a little hanger on the side, figure it out.
Most of the operators,
like, read the fucking laws, fit within the box as best you can.
I mean, I think
most of the operators in Oklahoma are, when metric was introduced, I'm like, so how did you because they wanted them to throw away all the inventory that they had and start over when they introduced metric.
There was a day. No, that's not true. They did not. That is not what they wanted them to do, Nichole. They wanted them to incorporate it all in metric. I was there working with clients. The idea, they sent you your tags and you were supposed to tag everything and tell them everything you had. You had 30 days to do it. And only 3 people that I know in the entire fucking state got to that place. And you know how fucking angry they must have been at the end of that month when one day before the end, they were like, by the way, we're going to push metric back.
We got 29 more days. I think we're just going to smoke this weed today.
Yeah.
We got 28 more days. I think we're just going to smoke today and get it done tomorrow.
I think more of the outrage from these operators in Oklahoma are the fact that they have to operate within metric and they can't just trap all day like they were doing before. And that's going to lead to the bigger demise.
The 3 that actually got compliant and that spent the time and spent the money, and then like the trappers overruled them, and then they just wasted all this time.
You've been overruled by the trap.
Oklahoma is still pulling buds out of glass jars. Like
maybe those 3
out of glass jars and putting it on scales in Oklahoma. Like that.
Maybe those 3. Maybe those three people that actually did get their metric together, maybe the state or metric should offer them like some type of subsidy, like they pay their license fees for a year or something, since they were the good kids in class, and give them a little gold star or a happy face on the board or something. You know what I mean?
Robbed by the ones that ain't made it.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Exactly.
If that happens, I'm just a visionary. We gotta do the relight.
Hold on. We have a commercial first, Rico.
I'm saying.
Welcome to Los Ashes, the headiest city in America. Los Ashes is a 10-pound smokable city curated and created by the world-renowned roller Weavers. In the past, Weavers has amazed cannabis lovers with his roll jobs, such as a smokable 5-pound rocket launcher and a 10-pound Darth Vader. But now Weavers is rolling an entire city. Have your business featured in Los Ashes with a ton of different sponsorship opportunities available. Contract Weavers at smokablecity.com for full sponsorship information.
Thoughts and opinions in general shade thrown on the High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers, not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, territory, or its authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish fiduciary relationships. Our sponsors do not apply, constitute any endorsement by us or the expression on any opinion whatsoever of any part of any of our speakers or anyone on stage. If you're an easily offended person, this show is probably not for you. Also, fuck off.
Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX. Located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
Jason, do they have to say it like that too? Like, nice.
You may get like an extra pre-roll if you say it just like that.
If you bring the sound effect,
we're gonna be tracked by metric.
If you bring the sound effect, you for
Yeah.
sure get an extra
You
pre-roll.
bring the sound effect, you get 20% off.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound just like that.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
All right. So our next correspondent is the CMO and CMO of industry-focused event ticketing and promotion platform Event High, but also the co-host and founder of groundbreaking professional women in cannabis networking series Blunt Brunch. I'm not sure if she'll even answer when I call, but you know what? Come on to the stage, Adelia Carrillo. What you got for us?
I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm here today.
Man.
All right. Today's article is Las Cruces to weigh on allowing outdoor cannabis consumption in licensed facilities. So currently, Las Cruces only allows recreational cannabis consumption areas indoors at licensed facilities, but that could soon expand to outdoor areas as well. Now, the city prohibits the recreational cannabis consumption outdoors, which is consistent with their ordinance number 2986. In Las Cruces, people can consume inside their homes. Again, nonetheless, they are saying that these are regulations that people need to follow on their own properties. So basically, in your own front yard, you cannot smoke. Even though it's still part of your residence, it's literally inside of your home that you can smoke, is what they're saying. Now, if it's in your backyard, it's suggested to be in an area that's probably closed off to the public, maybe where other people can't see you. And although there are designated outdoor areas where people can smoke tobacco, again, cannabis is currently not allowed to be consumed. Now, this may all change. So on Thursday, this upcoming Thursday, the city of Las Cruces is holding a public meeting to weigh the potential for allowing outdoor consumption of cannabis at licensed facilities. Ahead of the meeting, the city opened up a survey to gauge the public's interest and learn what operational restrictions that they think should be in place. So last night I dove in, I ended up completing this survey. It was very basic. They asked just general questions like, if I worked in the industry, how supportive would you be of outdoor consumption for the following cannabis products in licensed facilities? If outdoor consumption of cannabis were to be allowed at licensed facilities, should the outdoor consumption areas have operational restrictions? Now, in this article, they did also speak to a few other local cannabis business owners and found that it seems to be a bit slower paced over there in New Mexico. Now, Scott Crawling, a board member of the Southwest Cannabis Trade Association and director of public engagement for High Horse Cannabis Company, a Las Cruces-based dispensary, said he doesn't know of any cannabis licenses in Las Cruces that are immediately interested in opening an outdoor consumption area. Whereas in many other states, people have been thinking about this and waiting to get the opportunity to do so. Now, in the lead up to this meeting, there hasn't been much public opposition as well to not allowing public consumption. Scott also said he does want those people to speak up if there are any, though. He says, we need to work with people who aren't comfortable with cannabis. If we want to progress in reducing the stigma, we need to have honest conversations with people who aren't as deep in it as we are. Now, as of August 29th, New Mexico's Cannabis Control Division has actually issued 4 licenses for consumption areas. One of those 4 is Las Cruces-based dispensary Soul Cannabis, which became the first cannabis lounge in the state when it opened in mid-April. And weeks after, New Mexico's opened recreational cannabis sales. And some of you may already know this, Albuquerque, New Mexico has actually already moved ahead, and the Albuquerque City Council passed an ordinance in early April to allow indoor and outdoor consumption areas in their licensed facilities. However, as of now, there hasn't been any real insight if any have opened within that city. Lewinger said the proposition of opening a consumption area can be cost prohibited because of the Clean Indoor Air Act regulations. And outside of that, I would just love to hear from our correspondents or those in the audience. Do you think it'll be an easier route pushing for outdoor consumption in states like New Mexico? And do you think it's more because the locals are open to it, that it's going to bring more income into their cities? Or what is the direction you think they're taking?
I think they're just trying to mitigate air mitigation standards and to not be smoking indoors. I think this is all has to do everything with that. And thank goodness New Mexico has decent weather, so they have enough sunny days to actually have outdoor venues.
Right. I think that's probably a really big concern for a lot of places that don't have that year round. The idea of figuring out what that's going to look like a place like New York, you're going to have 5 months out of the year where nobody's fucking standing outside to do shit. Like you are getting from point A to point B as fast as you can. And so it's like, where are you going to do that? What buildings are they even going to let you smoke in? That's something else, because most of these places are zoned no smoking. And so it's like, they've, made California, for instance, the Clean Air Act is one of our biggest battles when we have the conversation of putting carcinogens indoors. It doesn't matter that it's weed, guys. It's a combusting something, lighting something on fire. Having a vape lounge is not that hard. If all they did was vape, it's the idea of combustion and burning.
Right. And I learned a lot more about this as I've gone through the process the last year here in Nevada with consumption lounges, and that was one of the subcommittees that we had, air quality and air safety, public safety and air safety were like some talk points. And so that's been an issue with the councilman, the county councilman here, our commissioners here, is they're concerned about outdoor smoking facilities here in Las Vegas because the distance from a school or the distance from a rec center or community center. And so some of those can come into play. I feel like outdoor is much better, like Nicole said, than trying to regulate an indoor facility. And if you just put the restrictions on it, like you can't be within a certain distance of a school or a church, then I think I find that path is much better and much easier. And most people prefer to smoke outside, like me.
I prefer to smoke indoors because I smoke indoor weed. So my weed prefers to be smoked
everything's
indoors.
Inside for J-Beck.
Yeah.
I like indoor weed, but I like to smoke outside. Like I like the ins, but I like the outs.
If there's an air conditioned
I live in
patio
California for a reason, bro. I live in SoCal for a fucking reason, so I could be outside as much as possible.
Outside, right?
If there's an air conditioned patio, I may be into that.
Yeah, I mean,
air conditioned patio, bougie AF. You know what I'm saying?
Chicago, you got like mid January to mid February. It's all negative temperatures, man.
Yeah, fuck that.
This shit sucked, but we went outside to fucking smoke when we had to, but that shit fucking sucked.
That's when you make a fucking igloo to get high in, man.
So
you
have the loogie.
That would be cool. I would do that. I would be down with that. I'm totally down. Smoke, tack out in an igloo. I think that would be a dope ass hot box, and I'd like poke a little hole in the roof and just watch the smoke seep out.
No, the igloo has
looks like a little blowhole.
The little hole in it.
Has Greenland legalized?
Greenland, not until after not until after America purchases it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, because Donald Trump sold it, right?
Don't worry, we're gonna be buying in this next term.
God forbid.
He doesn't get it.
Yeah, he's not getting indicted, bro. Cut it out.
My main point is I recommend everybody who wants to do consumption in areas that you can find outdoor stuff and your community and your temperatures allow for it. I mean, that is going to be it's the best way on everything, right? So if somebody wants to come that's like just an edible consumer and they're not really, they can come hang out. We can all hang out. We don't have to be like sitting in a fucking hot box room together.
Maybe this is why Boris Jordan from Cureleaf is saying that 50% of the industry
the drinking.
Bevies.
He's just projecting. He's just projecting.
I can see there being more bevies because of that. Absolutely.
That make this bevy thing.
I think all the beverages need to step up their game and have a lot higher quality level if they expect to be able to compete in that kind of a space.
Yeah, that's not false. But I mean, I think some of them are. Some of them definitely are.
I think, especially after Cureleaf's CEO announced at Benzinga that
that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. It's gonna be interesting.
And just because Cureleaf CEO says something doesn't mean it's fucking gold.
Oh, understood. He's the one.
I think everybody agrees and understands that shit. Yeah, he's trying to really make that happen because he has a huge stake.
Yeah, he's trying to exactly. He's projecting. He's projecting
the beverage market.
He's like, hey guys, isn't it cool to drink weed? Isn't it cool? Isn't it cool? Let's everybody do this.
He is projecting. You're not wrong, but he's also not wrong in that market is going to grow exponentially. That market is a minuscule of what it will be, is what he's saying, and he is not.
I just don't high. I don't like the high.
That's fine. That's because you're a smoker. Lot of people, you're a smoker.
But there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people who do.
Nicole, based off your experience, how much do you think that beverage market can actually grow? Because right now it's the smallest portion of the market, which is the edibles market.
It's not the smallest portion because currently topicals is the smallest portion of the market. If we want to like real drop some fucking annoying knowledge, the most medical products, topicals and tinctures, are the smallest portions of the market. Beverages is the smallest portion of the third smallest portion of the market, which is edibles. And that's why I think as far as what is there now and exponential growth of how small it actually is, I think it will be 50% of the edibles market. I think it will be at least 50%.
So if it gets up to that 50% marker, do you think that that edibles will surpass concentrates?
If edibles will pass concentrates,
if you get to that 50% marker to where beverages are taking 50% of the edible market share, then at that point, since all of that growth, does now the edible market share surpass the concentrate market share?
I think the edible market will get close to it because currently concentrates are like 22 to 25% depending on what state you're in, and edibles are anywhere between 7 to 9% depending on what state you're in. And so I'd see the edible market almost doubling in the next 5 to 10 years, and I'd see the drink market taking over a large portion of that.
And you got to look at the
market. So I'd say I think it'd get close, and I think more than anything, we're going to see things start to edge out the flower market because combustion is changing. People are getting it. There's more people that want. And so as more people come into the market, our wanting to smoke becomes a smaller portion of this larger market, right? Because the people that are coming in, a lot of them aren't coming in and just going straight to smoking. A lot of them now are coming in and topicals and drinks and that sort of thing.
And edibles, they're looking at edibles as their first foray into the market. So
it's so much less terrifying.
Agreed.
Shout out to El Guapo, who says that in 2042, 50% of toothpaste could be infused with cannabis.
We had a great conversation on Twitter about the toothpaste of the future. Like you brush your teeth and you get the munchies, you eat some food, and then you brush your teeth again with more THC toothpaste.
I mean, I could see the ADA getting behind that. I could see the ADA totally supporting that.
You brush the shit out of your teeth, and then you get real white teeth, and then your gums get all fucked up because you're brushing too much.
So with cannabis and fluoride, would we call it canna-ride?
Ooh, can you?
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good. Thank you so much for that story, Adelia.
Great story, Adelia.
Yes. Coming up next, she's a cannabis patient, plant medicine advocate, and also the founder of Purple Plant Magic. She's also a national brand ambassador for Black Buddha Cannabis and the Encyclopedia on Power 88 in Las Vegas every Wednesday morning. It is none other than the Nicole Buffon.
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction. Today, my story is titled Las Vegas Strip. Get ready for huge cannabis rule change. A major change is coming to how Sin City handles one of its biggest indulgences, by Daniel Klein. And it was published yesterday. So as a tourist, and the article starts with, as a tourist, however, you can visit and make purchases, but you can't legally smoke cannabis in your hotel room. Most people don't know that, but technically they don't even tell you. They just put it on your bill, the hotel will, when you check out. In fact, it's technically only legal to actually consume your legal marijuana in a private residence, which isn't at all useful for tourists. Basically, this has led to people smoking and vaping legally purchased cannabis in parking lots and fairly brazenly on the Las Vegas Strip. That's technically a crime, albeit one of the police generally won't enforce. It's, however, a problem as the Las Vegas Strip's big casino operators probably don't want the city to smell of pot, and the dispensaries would prefer to not be leading their customers into committing a crime. To solve the problem, Las Vegas will soon be home to legal cannabis consumption lounges. When will we see lounges? Las Vegas consumption lounges may begin opening up before the end of the year. As long as the licensing process proceeds as expected this fall with the Nevada Cannabis Compliance Board, the CCB. The lounges will either be located within an existing adult use dispensary or in a new independent lounge that will sell cannabis and cannabis products. The independent lounges are going to be about 20 of them, and that's going to be split between social equity and independent. And will most of these be associated with dispensaries? Yes. So the first to market are going to be dispensary locations or retail locations attached to retail locations. Each retail location in the city can only have one license or one consumption lounge attached to a specific location. So like there's several sources, there's a couple of cookies, but they're only going to be able to have a consumption lounge at one location. Existing adult use dispensaries will have the option of adding a consumption lounge to their premise, but it's hard to say if we'll see all of them do it because it just depends on where they are and if their facility can hold it. Retail licenses are going to be $100,000. Independent licenses are going to be $10,000, and social equity licenses are going to be $2,500. They are the limits on what consumption lounges can be. They can serve food. They cannot serve alcohol. At the lounge, with a smoke, vape, eat, dab, or use, and with singles-use portions of cannabis and products such as flower, concentrates, edibles, capsules, tinctures, transdermal patches. Additionally, with prior approval, the lounge will be able to prepare and sell infused foods and beverages that have up to 10 milligrams of THC per serving. Lounges will be restricted in the amount of cannabis and cannabis products they can serve. And they will not, just like this is in line with how bars operate. Patrons order one drink at a time instead of ordering a bottle and pouring it themselves. Lounges will not be able to serve alcohol, nicotine, or tobacco. Last week, the CCB announced that applications for the lounges will open on October 14th and will close on October 27th. To avoid litigation, the state of Nevada decided to open social equity to everyone in the country that qualifies. Independent and social equity will be distributed via a lottery. Yesterday, I made public comment at the Clark County Commissioners meeting, encouraging them to consider that some of these social equity license holders might not want combustion-only facilities and should not have the same location restrictions as the retail locations. For example, having a mixed-use facility that juices cannabis leaves or uses topicals in massage therapy should not be subject to the same restrictions as combustion and vaping locations. So this is Nichole Buffong. I'd love to hear what my other correspondents think about this. We're moving along here in Las Vegas, getting closer and closer. I'll be updating you about the progress. This is Nichole Buffong reporting for High at 9 News.
Nichole,
real quick, Nichole, like you are a resident. Why don't you give us your take on this shit? Come on.
Well, so I am I'm an advocate. So I am an advocate for people being able to smoke wherever they want. But obviously that does not produce the right environment for here in Las Vegas. And it's going to be interesting to watch what happens in the next 12 months as people right now, you don't get a ticket, you don't get fined, you don't get arrested for being on the strip. But with these consumption lounges opening up, it's going to be interesting to see how that is going to shift and how they are going to try to eradicate people smoking out in public and forcing people to go into these consumption lounges. I personally am probably not going to go to a consumption lounge unless I'm invited to some type of event. Obviously, because I live here, but for people who are visiting, it makes sense. People want somewhere to socially that they can consume. And the funny thing is that there's already been a consumption lounge here in Las Vegas for the last 2 years. And when these legislators bring up, oh, we don't think that this is a business plan that can work, we're like, it already exists. So New Woo, which is one of the dispensaries here that's on Paiute Tribe land, has had a consumption lounge attached to their dispensary for the last 2 years, 3 years, going on 3 years now. So it's absolutely an operational business.
Aren't they owned by a bunch of Chads though?
Yeah, they're run by a bunch of Chads. So the bunch of Chads actually.
So Chads can run. Chads can run is what you're saying.
So, they don't have that extra fast twitch.
they rent the land from the Paiute tribe, and so the Paiute tribe is the owners, and so they have to, the tribe has to say yes or no to things that happen, but no, they don't actually run the day-to-day operations.
I have some logistical questions for you, Nichole. Serious. This. So ever since COVID happened here in California, and I know they have this in Nevada too, but you can order alcoholic beverages to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Not to mention, a lot of these consumption lounges are going to be revenue driven based off of limousines and party buses bringing people to these events, which you can also consume alcohol in. And I heard you mention that they are not having alcohol sales there, but are they going to have a cup check at the door?
Yeah. So you will not be allowed to bring alcohol in. But
what if you do? What if I tell you it's lemonade?
Oh,
I mean, Jason,
they're not gonna allow. You can't bring any of your own cannabis. It depends. So you can't.
What if I'm just drinking straight vodka with ice and I tell you it's water?
They're not gonna let you in. But what they're not gonna do is not allow you to bring your own cannabis, right? So you're gonna, if you're at Planet 13, you're going to go into the dispensary, purchase your cannabis, walk across the hall, and you're going to have to purchase cannabis outside of that facility. You're not going to be able to use the cannabis that you just purchased.
I think Bridget,
that's stupid.
And Nick from our audience had a good question. Will they charge membership fees and only allowed to purchase cannabis in the lounges?
So we said some of them are going to have that model. What's going to be interesting is the first market are going to be the retail location, and then the independent lounges are going to come in after that. So these independent lounges are going to have to come up with some really creative ideas about how to attract people outside of that party, I want to smoke and get high kind of environment, which is what I'm sure all the dispensaries are going to have. And there's going to be anywhere from 40 to 45 licenses that are going to be available to those retail locations. And so we're going to see how many are going to actually open up in the next 12 months. And then I went
to one recently in Colorado, the first one that opened in Colorado. I've been to a bunch in California, like ones in Palm Springs and Lowell, and they're all their own kind of different awkward experience. But I almost got kicked out of the one in Colorado because I brought my own Carta, and so I brought my own rig, and they're like, you can't even use your own rig. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, I'll use your dabs, and they're like, there could be dabs still in your rig. And I'm like, I guess.
That's so stupid. You know what? I'm going to bring my own weed into these places, even if I have to buy some boof on the shelf. Okay. And then I'm going to act like I'm rolling that, but I'm actually going to smoke my own weed. You know why? Because they're not pocket checking people at the door. I'm just letting you know, you see me in a consumption lounge, just know I'm going to be smoking my own weed. Yeah, I'm not smoking none of their shit.
Jason will not be getting invited to Planet 13.
Thank you for that story.
I think with COVID though, you should definitely be able to bring in your own rigs. I think
exactly. That was my thing. I was like, I don't want this. I want my own shit. Like,
your alcohol wipes aren't good enough for me.
Yeah. So then I just ended up rolling a joint because I was like, I don't want your and their rigs were weird too. I wasn't into their rigs.
They had no heady glass. No heady glass.
No, they had no heady glass.
It was all China glass.
Wipe the shit down, but they don't let you bring alcohol in there to enjoy your beverage, huh?
I'm like, I can't even bring my Hennessy to clean my rig.
Fucking bullshit.
This bottle of Henny is here to clean the rig because I don't trust your alcohol.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that story, Nicole. Definitely something we want to keep watching because everyone wants to know where the hell they're supposed to get high in Las Vegas when they go there.
That's right.
So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters, to the haters for still talking about us. Huge thank you to True Classic, LAXCC, and Weavers for helping us keep the lights on. Thank you to the correspondents for being amazing, to Cannabis for giving a reason to do this, and the 3 is 4 for helping us create space in this crazy cannabis miniverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us.
Shout out to Suppository.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.